Good morning. This is Janine McGowan, and I am happy to be with you for Flosstube number 9 to talk about cross stitch and life and bears this week, fitting in the bears. I don't know about you, but it has been a bit intense at our house the last couple of weeks. Sometimes you're just sort of inner tubing along the river, the water's level, enjoying the sunshine, having a nice cool drink, and sometimes you're in the rapids, white knuckling the whole way, and this has been a white knuckle stretch, so I'm hoping for a little bit of smooth water to come. I hope all of you have friends who help you when you need somebody to take the oars or just sit in the bottom of the boat with you, because that is so critical. And I know now so many of us have had unusual stress, abnormal situations for so long. It really starts to wear you out. And so I hope everyone has a chance to lift someone else up, to lean on someone else when they need to. And someday, when we're allowed to hug each other again, I wish you could all give me a hug because I need it. And I wish I could give all of you a hug because you may need it too. So until then, we'll just keep stitching away and supporting each other in every way we can think of. So thank you again for joining me today. I'm going to jump right into my notes after that little digression. Stitching in action is the first category up, and I don't actually have anything this week. So if anybody wants to, just a reminder, as always, share a blue flower design that you have stitched. There's a link on the website, and then we can feature you here and leave you up on the website for everybody to admire your fabric choices, your thread choices, your finishing choices, and help inspire other people. That would be great. So straight on then to what I'm stitching. I have a bit of an update. I'm still working on primarily Halloween at Hollyberry Farm from Stacy Nash Primitives. And I've moved on to a few new colors. I got to put in this little cidery color here, which was fun. And I've added a very variegated floss here, which I'm really excited about. I think it's working well. There's going to be a white background and with some black lettering in this open space here. So I'm thinking that will look really good. And then just a word about, since I'm going to talk about variegated flosses this week in response to a reader question. This is an example. I'm probably going to talk about them ad nauseum, so if you're sick of variegated flosses by the end, I'm really sorry. I'm not. So this is a fairly subdued color palette. There are two purpley threads in this that I'm using to stitch. This first one here, and it is a bit tricky to see. I may have to put this down and put up a white paper. This first one is a bit more variegated of a purple, and it has hints and pops of even a little bit of orange and lighter and darker bits. This purple is very similar, but it is just lighter and darker purple. It doesn't have any of the other colors in it. And so the way that I've used them in this is I'm using the more variegated with the alternate colors in these flowers up here, and essentially nowhere else. I'm using the purple that is just shades of purple with no other colors mixed in for the purple lettering, for the leaves on the trees. Now, just because I had put this away for a while and didn't write very carefully in my notes, I did the top section of the willow with the more subdued variegation, the middle section of the willow with the mixed, and then the bottom section again with the more subdued. And so you can see there is a difference in the way it looks, and the reason I did that is because of the way that I'm stitching these willows and the lettering. Often I would need to go all the way down and then potentially back up the same one, and I find that a little trickier to do if I'm using a more variegated floss, and I will talk more about that later, I promise, in case you wanted to know. So that's what I'm stitching, and I haven't had a lot of stitchy time, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, but guess that I was able to bring in two new colors, and I think next I get to add the pumpkin color, which I'm excited about. So I am making progress, and hopefully we'll have some more to show next time. Now, stash spotlight. Couple things. Oh, there's the original on the Christmas, goodness, Halloween at Hollyberry Farm. You can see I've switched out the steely blues for purples essentially, and then much of the rest of the palette is the same, but I'm just sort of tweaking it as I go along. So on to Stash Spotlight. I just got this shirt and I'm so excited to stitch it, but I'm going to hold off until I get a little more Halloween done. Look at this. Bless This Home from Cottage Garden Samplings. I can't wait. It's the pigeon. It's the giant pigeon. Yeah, I may put this in my husband's office because he doesn't love, I won't do that. He doesn't love the pigeons, but he would like this. We have a grocery store not very far from our house, and so they have a resident flock of pigeons. And because we feed the birds, the pigeons come over here, get a little bird seed from us, and feed a few hawks when they come to our yard. So it seems all fair, but I am really excited about this pigeon, and I don't know why, but I love it. I love it. I love the blue color. I love that it's a pigeon and not a bird we traditionally think of as wonderful. It's just a pigeon, but it is a wonderful pigeon. So that's enough about me going on about the pigeon. I did get a little bit of fabric. I feel like, you know, I've scored something in the black market when I get fabric, but I'm not going to stop because, I don't know what it is. I just want to collect all the fabric, make sure I have enough. The first ones that I got are from xJudesign. I've got a white piece of paper here to show. This top one is called Dirty Brown, and the bottom one is called Gray Sand. I am really enjoying the sort of yellows and grays right now. I mean, I enjoy them all the time, but particularly this time of year, that's very fun for me. And these are both from xJudesigns. They have a wonderful feel to them, and she always comes out with really good colors. You can get those either from her Etsy shop directly, which is what I often do, and these were from a gift certificate that a lovely friend gave me for my birthday, so thank you. You know who you are. And you can get them directly from her website. They come very quickly, or a lot of shops are starting to carry them, and some online stores like kittenstitcher.com carry them. So that's a good resource. I know we're all fabric hunters these days. Now, I also ordered some linens from Hobby House Needleworks. They have a very good selection online. One that I got that I am so excited about is from Color and Cotton. It's called Applesauce, and it pretty much looks like applesauce. Oh, I love it. Maybe I'll put the pigeon on that one. I don't know. We'll see. I have a little confession to make, which the name always reminds me of. I don't love pumpkin spice. I know this time of year a lot of people are all about the pumpkin spice, and I'm always a little bit surprised that I don't love it more, because the traditional pumpkin spice mix contains two of my very favorite spices, ginger and nutmeg, but something about pumpkin spice, I don't know. I don't hate it, I just don't get excited. But apples, oh, I love apples. I love everything that you make with apples. So the applesauce fabric, of course, I was going to buy, and it's a bonus that I love the color, but I would just be happy stitching it knowing that it has apples in the name. That's how obsessed with apples I am. So moving on, the world around this week, it was the end, or this past week, was the end of Fat Bear Week. Many of you may already know about Fat Bear Week, but this is an event put on every year, or not really an event, competition by Katmai, I may not pronounce that correctly, Katmai National Park, and basically it's just an online competition to vote on the photos of the bears in the park who are busily eating primarily salmon as fast as they can to bulk up to astonishing weights. I mean, I think I read that some of them put on 1,000 pounds in the course of the weeks leading up to hibernation, and it's just remarkable. But you can watch the webcams, you can see the bears eating, and then every day you vote between the two. It's like a sports bracket. You vote on the pictures of who has packed on the most weight. This year's winner was Bear 747. So I'm going to put a picture up to show all of the progress that 747 made. 747 doesn't have a name. Last year's winner was Holly, in addition to having a number, but this year just 747. Although I guess since he's the same name as a giant airplane, maybe that's appropriate. So if you get a chance next year, you want to participate and vote on the chonkiest bear out there, or you just want to watch a webcam of some bears eating fish, that's where you do it. I'll put the link in the notes as well. Questions from viewers. Thank you all. I had several questions this week. So first off from Tina. She asked, how did you get involved with designing? And I actually have a visual aid here. Some of you may have seen this before. I think I showed it when I talked with Michelle a year or two ago. But Paulette Stewart, Plum Street Samplers, has done the wonderful series of Dachshunds, and because we have a Dachshund mix, I had started stitching all of those. And then I had an idea for one that I wanted to do in the mix, and so I designed it, and I stitched it up, and here it is. It's sort of a Day of the Dead Dachshund. Now, obviously this is just personal, so we can't give that out since it's a deliberate extension of her work. So there's that. But I had sent it into Acorns and Threads for finishing and framing, and I can't remember who I was speaking to, but someone there said, "Oh, this is great, you should design." And I said, "Oh, no, I could not really. I used to think maybe I could." And that was how I got started. So then after that, once I had decided to do it, I spent about 15 months, well over a year, just trying to design as many things as I could with the goal of going to market. And so that's what I did. That's how I got started, and then I was able to go to market, not this past time, but the time before, and yeah, love it. That's about all I can say, so I hope that helps Tina. She also asked what computer program I use. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I use something called Pattern Maker. It's for PCs, since that's what I have. And also she asked, is designing your full-time job? No, I wish it were, but it is not. I have a proper job, and so I fit the designing in around the edges, which is one of the reasons I've had to learn to rely more on model stitchers. And thank you all to the many people who've gotten in contact with me. Some of you have already been stitching and finished stitching, so I really appreciate all your help to let me to fit this in. Next question was from Cynthia. She asked about using variegated flosses and which are my favorites. Now, just quickly, I will say that I love variegated flosses, and that's a whole range, basically almost any overdyed floss, cotton, silk, wool, whatever, is a little bit variegated, and that's really what I love about it. I have another visual aid here. As an example, this is a piece, and I'll need to look it up for the show notes, but I had this piece of dark blue linen for quite some time and didn't know what to put on it and toyed with different things, and then I came across, I believe it's a Filigram pattern, but I will look it up to be sure. And I thought this underwater feeling would just be perfect, and the reason that I'm showing it here is because you can see the way the variegations in the threads almost add just a wavy dimensional effect to it that I love. I couldn't love it more. And yes, I changed all the colors because I do, but it just came out so beautifully. And that, I think, is the thing that a variegated floss gives you that no other floss quite does. Now, that said, there's variegation and there's variegation. So the way that I choose whether I want something that has just, you know, sort of subtle waves of color change versus wild color changes is often based on how I am going to stitch. I'm full of visual aids today, let me tell you. So as an example, I printed a couple of blow-ups of the Maria Casson piece that you've all seen me working on and finishing. And the way that I would stitch something like this is I would take from here, I would stitch half of the X up here, stitch half of the X out of the leaf, back the leaf, half of the X, and then half of the X out the leaf and back the leaf, half of the X, and then come back down and stitch the rest of the X over, and then go up the other side doing full stitches, and then out and back, like that. So because of that, I wouldn't use a tremendously variegated green in here, and you can see there's not a huge amount of variegation. Some parts lighter, some parts darker, and it adds a good visual interest, but it's subtle. And that's because looking at that border, I know that's how I'm going to have to stitch it. Now, something similar, this is the Greyhound. It's a little bit hard to see, but this floss here goes from these darker reddish colors to the sort of lighter goldy ones. I did full stitches on this, but I didn't go across in lines the way I normally would. I went, you know, do this little section and then wander up here and do this little section and then wander over here and do this because I wanted it to look a little bit more modeled like my pups. Then sometimes in the right place, I love a really variegated floss where it's not subtle at all and it smacks you in the face. One of my favorites for this time of year is called Mossy Cauldron from Silken Colors. Just as an example, look at that. But the thing I love, I think, most about variegated flosses, apart from the dimensionality, is they often give you, especially one that has a lot of colors, is it really picks your palette for you in a lot of ways, especially if you're unsure about how to go about changing colors. I think if you pick an anchor or anchor thread like that that has a lot of them in it, and then you can just go and pick other threads that harmonize or accent the various colors in it. So that's my dissertation, as it were, on variegated floss, which honestly I really, really love. So I keep using it. Now I haven't used any of the DMC variegated flosses yet, and so if any of you have had some experience with those and some feedback that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because that's something I haven't tried yet. Since you've listened to me natter on about variegated floss, I thought I'd do a quick giveaway. Some of you may know that Silken Colors, the thread gatherer, Cece, just moved her facility in her town, and so as part of that she made sort of grab bags of colors they had a lot of on hand or older things that they weren't redoing anymore, and so you could take your chance and get some fabulous threads sight and well, you could see them but you couldn't tell which ones they were. And so I got a couple of duplicates when I put in my order, and I have these two threads. Let's see, one is called Ring Around the Rosie, this one here, and one is called Dark Forest. These could be autumn colors, they could be Christmas colors. You could hang on to them and make them exciting spring and summer colors. So if you tell me your favorite food, your favorite treat, whether it's something you love all the time, something you only have specially in the fall, or something you only have specially just on a rare occasion, let me know and I'll pick one of you and send you these two variegated flosses and see which paths they lead you down and what you do with them. So I look forward to hearing all of those. Best thing this week. I'm going to shout out some Nevada crafters, starting with my friend Rina, who's a lovely lady, who also lives here in Nevada. She has a shop called Stitcherina on Etsy, and I will link below to her Etsy shop and her eBay shop. She carries wonderful fabrics like Tula Pink, which I always love, and it's a small selection, but it's always interesting, and so I always find something there that I haven't seen necessarily other places. But she does beautiful quilts and does in her Etsy shop sell quilt kits. So if you're ever thinking, I'd love to do a quilt, but I don't know about picking all the colors, or I can't get to the fabric store because mine's closed, or COVID is making it difficult to travel, that's a great opportunity to get all the fabric that you need and a good instruction set. So she has something featured in a new quilting book from two Nevada fabric designers. I'm shouting out the Silver State makers here. Camille Russ Kelly and Bonnie Olafson, and they are well-known fabric designers, and they have a new book. It's called The Quilting Bee, and so if you happen to get a copy of that book, if you're a quilter, you can pick that up and you can see Rina's inclusions in there. Very exciting for her, published. So I'm very proud of her and her wonderful, wonderful work. She's a good friend of mine, so it's always nice to be able to celebrate a friend's accomplishments. And yeah, just a lovely lady. I'll put the link to the book down below. I think the link that I have is from Fat Quarter Shop, which is a great online shop, but if you have a local quilting shop, they might have a copy of it as well that you can get from them and support your local shop. So that's it for me today. There are several minutes of puppy videos, which I believe takes us beyond 20 minutes total. So if you only wanted to talk about cross stitch and variegated thread, you're done. If you want to see the puppy running around, stay tuned. I hope you all have a wonderful 2 weeks, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Bye.